I am optimistic, positive, and excited about chiropractic, reaching people with my practice and building an exceptional life of productivity and prosperity and generosity while I am filled with love, fitness, and having a great time. My purpose is to become a smarter, more powerful, capable, driven, and superior version of myself by always increasing my awareness and knowledge of what's going on around me in the world, in chiropractic, my patients, my clinic. My understanding and motivation, hands-on skill, communication skill, and mastery in the art of living and creating an exceptional life. Every single podcast with me does 4 things. Causes you to naturally attract more new and high-value cases. Makes you more capable, motivating, and persuading people. You are now empowered to make smarter, long-term decisions. You are energized physically. You are now energized mentally. And of course, you are energized financially. You want to be healthy in all those areas. There's lots of ways to be healthy, right? Lots of ways to be rich. People mistake the word rich with greedy. It's too bad. Do you want to have rich health, rich relationships? Do you want to have a healthy practice, healthy physical body, healthy mind? We want to have health and richness all over the place in our lives, don't we? Interesting trainings today. You're going to love this. Due to popular demand, I'm going to carry on a similar theme from the most recent podcast. We'll get to that in just a minute. But before, I want to take a couple minutes here. Once again, we're taking a look at this lesson. This lesson from the Laws of Success in 16 Lessons. You ready for this? Self-control. It's lesson 8 in this book. The lesson of self-control. Now, we recognize the word or words self-control, but let's dig in and add some depth to it, add some meaning. Let's see what we can learn, how we can apply it. Enthusiasm is the vital quality that arouses you to action. So you got to have enthusiasm to have the oomph to go into action, right? While self-control is the balance wheel that directs your action so that it will build up and not tear down. Self-control. Warren Buffett was quoted saying when he looks to employ people or he's looking to interact with people, he evaluates 3 things very, very quickly. And he is looking for 3 things from the outset: intelligence, energy, and integrity. Intelligence. How smart is this person? How knowledgeable are they in this field? Next, how much energy do they have? Intelligence isn't worth much if it hangs out and sits on the couch and can't go into action, lacks enthusiasm, energy, and then integrity. There's nothing worse than a highly intelligent, highly energetic person with no integrity. There is going to be some broken glass. Okay? All right? So that's what we're seeing here with this concept of self-control. Integrity and self-control go hand in hand. Here's another point. It is a fact that the majority of people's griefs come about through a lack of self-control. That makes sense, doesn't it? Mistakes, errors in judgment, lack of self-control physically, lack of self-control in a relationship, lack of self-control in all forms of decision-making. No person can control others until they first can control themselves. No man can control others unless he first controls himself. No woman can have any control. Indy, shush. I got my guard dog here. He's hearing some activity outside, so he goes into guard dog mode very quickly. But he's showing some self-control. No woman can control others unless she first controls herself. There's lots of ways to say that. Why would I trust health advice why would I trust somebody with health advice if they don't look healthy? Right? That's what that's saying, along with many other examples. What else do we learn about self-control from this text? Those who control themselves usually boss the job, no matter what it may be. So a person who has self-control and discipline and integrity and energy and intelligence, they're going to bring leadership wherever they go, regardless of whether or not they're the boss. No doubt all people who refuse or neglect to exercise self-control are literally turning opportunity after opportunity away without even knowing it. There's one last point I want to make here. And here it is. Another grievous form of the lack of self-control is the spending habit. I repeat, the spending habit is turning America into a nation of paupers. Now, this book is written back in the 1920s. This book is 100 years old. And 100 years ago, Hill writes, the spending habit is turning America into a nation of paupers. What is a pauper? Well, let's take a look. I got the definition right here for us. Pauper, a very poor person. A pauper, a recipient of government relief or public charity. Oh, that's not good. Now, by the way, looking around in society, people don't look like they're paupers. But really they are, because all the money that's coming in is also going out. There's nothing left. The appearance is a lot different than what's going on behind the scenes. Self-control ties into money. Self-control ties into our own disciplines in eating. Self-control with our physical body. Self-control with language. Self-control with our recommendations, with patience. Self-control in all sorts of social interactions. What an excellent training today. We could spend more time on that. But I want to move on. We're talking about the perfect office design today. For the Winner's Edge clients, I have videos on designing offices, how to draw floor plans, all of our sample floor plans, all of our training on acquiring the perfect location, the perfect square footage, getting the walls, the doors, and everything laid out perfectly so that the office can flow and work like a race car. I'll come back to that in a second. I want to tell a story. Our architect genius, Frank Lloyd Wright. This is back in the 30s. There was a couple, the Kaufmans. Mr. and Mrs. Kaufman of Pennsylvania. They owned quite a business, clothing store, or stores actually, and they'd done well. And they bought themselves a little piece of land in the hills of Pennsylvania. It had a beautiful stream flowing through it. A nice little stream, and there was a little waterfall into a small pool, 10, 12, 15 feet wide. There was a big rock there, and they would put their picnic stuff up on this rock, and they would wade around and play around in this little pool of water on their land. No buildings on it. It was just a beautiful piece of land. Go there for a picnic, play around in the water. But as they began to do better financially, they wanted to build a nice little home on their land. And they were of means. And they were able to contact Frank Lloyd Wright. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if you were of the means that you could hire the #1 architect in America to design your, quote, cabin? Well, that's what the Kaufmans did. And sure enough, Wright heads out to Pennsylvania. That's back in the days where you'd have to drive 1930, 1935, 1939. I want you to think of what a typical house looked like then. It was a white box. A white box with a little porch on the front with a little white picket sort of deal, right? Can't you just picture that? A white box with a little porch on the front and a front door in the middle. You know, that's what a house was, right? In the 30s. Wright heads out to Pennsylvania. And of course, he's got his 3-piece suit on and his hat and his cane, and they're surveying the land. He brought some people with him. And they're getting a feel for the actual property lines and the slope and where the trees are, some of the bigger rocks, and how the stream, where it entered the property, where it exited the property. Just gathering information, talking over some ideas with Mr. and Mrs. Kaufman. E.J. Kaufman. Wright heads back to Wisconsin. The Kaufmans carry on selling clothes. A few months go by. 6 months goes by. 8 months goes by. Kaufmans haven't heard anything from Wright. A year goes by. The phone rings in Spring Green, Wisconsin. Yes, this is E.J. Kaufman. I'd like to talk to Mr. Wright about how the plans are coming along for our house. Wright hadn't drawn anything. Nothing. Wright gets on the phone and says, "Well, come along, Mr. Kaufman." Now, the situation is that Edgar Kaufman and his wife were in Milwaukee, about a couple hours away from Spring Green in Wisconsin. And so here come the Kaufmans driving, and they've got about 2 hours to get to Spring Green, and Wright hasn't drawn anything. He has nothing to show him. Wright sits down at the drawing table. 2 apprentices stand behind him. And when it was time for him to go to work, everybody else would leave. And he starts drawing. He starts drawing the floor plan for this place, and he knows where every rock is. He knows where every tree is. He starts working on the side view. He starts working on the second floor. He's getting all the rooms laid out, all the entryway, where the driveway is going to come in. He knows where the stream flows through the entire property. The 2 apprentices behind him are sharpening pencils as fast as they can, as Wright is just eating up drawing. Just drawing, and then that plan is done, and he goes to the, and then that one is done. Time is passing. He gets to where he's drawing this 3/4 view, as though you're driving up to the property and you can see the whole house sitting there. And he's sketching in the bushes and the trees and the decks, all the windows, the way everything works. And he knows where all the trees and the rocks, he knows where everything is. And sure enough, he's sketching in these trees and this shrubbery, and about the time he gets that pictorial drawing complete, the Kaufmans walk in. Wright stands up, walks over and says, "Welcome, Edgar. I've been waiting for you," and shakes his hand, shakes his wife's hand. And sitting on the table are the plans and the drawings for the great Falling Water House in Mill Run, Pennsylvania. A national treasure. And the White House, Elvis's house, and the Falling Water House are considered to be the most popular houses in the United States today. And I guess, and I'm going to get there someday, when you roll up to the Falling Water House, you almost start crying. We're talking like Brad Pitt. These people, everybody goes to see this phenomenon. And when you look at this house, you have to realize this was done in 1939. And when you see it today, it is more modern today than it was then practically. And what Wright did, we're going to come back to the office design for you in a second, I assure you. What Wright did that blew everybody away, along with many other things with this design, is many people would have designed the house away from the creek, the stream, and the little waterfall so you could see it. What Wright did is he built the house on top of the rock where they used to have their picnics. And when you stood on the decks and looked down, you looked down over the top of the waterfall and had a view and an angle that nobody would have thought of. It blew everybody away. And still to this day, people just look at it in awe. I'm in awe. I cannot tell this story with enough sincerity or energy to reflect my awe for this design, because it's designed by someone with a mind that's so capable and so smart. I encourage you, look up Falling Water. Why don't you go watch a couple YouTube videos just called Falling Water? Tell me what you think. Tell me it doesn't blow you away. Look what Wright did. He made a dream come true for that family and for everybody else that ever saw that house. Talk about unselfish. Talk about generosity. To have that capability and want to express it in a way for people to enjoy. Incredible. Notice, he knew exactly what that property required for its maximum performance and longevity. And it took him about a year to process it in his mind. He'd been thinking and reviewing and analyzing and solving and doing all of this in his mind. Putting it on paper is easy. I want you to think about that. The thought work is the difficult work. Putting it on paper is just a formality for him. It's kind of like thinking up a great song. If you can sing, singing it's not hard. But thinking up the great lyrics and the music and all of that, the melodies, the chord, that's going to be hard. And the same is true for a chiropractic office. Chiropractor offices just get thrown together by people who don't know what they're doing. They're not office design experts. Architects aren't chiropractic office design experts. They can only put on paper just boxes and doors and rooms that they don't know how it's supposed to work. It's like having someone build a car that doesn't care that it has to actually win races. Okay, you see there's a design and it has to work. A chiropractor office, it has to function, has to work. It has to flow people through it with the right number of steps and the right sight lines and the right capacity to move human bodies. Human bodies have a bubble around them. And we have to know that as we engineer the dynamics of the layout of the office. My experience in architecture and my experience having drawn now hundreds of chiropractic offices, redone and redrawn, hundreds more chiropractic offices. Our office designs, it's not like, oh, they're really pretty. It has nothing to do with pretty. It has to do with what rooms must go where, with what size, with what door swings, next to what rooms, with what hallways, with how many chairs, to mathematically cause people to flow through an office with the least amount of wasted time and space. Again, if you have to walk 4 steps that I don't have to walk, well, that's 12 feet. That's 12 feet, say, per person. Well, 12 feet per person times, say, 40 or 50 or how many people a day, multiplied by the month, by the year, you're losing $50,000+ a year just because you have to take 4 more steps. And of course, over 20 years, that's $1 million. And over the course of a chiropractic career, it's $2 million lost because your design was off by 4 steps. And I'm telling you right now, every single chiropractic office I see, all right, has got these design problems that are costing the chiropractor their life. What I'm talking about here is, yes, there's going to be a percentage of chiropractors that have such a personality and know so many people in their area, they can have a crummy design and they're going to have quite a few people coming in. Other chiropractors are going to be in a state where it's very easy to do well as a chiropractor. There are states in the country that are very easy to do well. The most average chiropractor will do above average collections because they're in these states where there's a responsiveness to chiropractic. What are those states? Well, if you're in the club, I will tell you. There are states that are much more difficult, very difficult, and you'll have to have everything perfect to really have a good chance at doing something impressive. I'm encouraging all chiropractors to have a perfect office design, even if you have to move to do it, to make seeing people more graceful and easier for doctor and team, because the layout is what controls the flow controls the volume, your volume controls your collections, and your collections basically control everything in your life. So everything in your life is being controlled by the layout of your office because it is the race car that you drive, and it is what is required for you to win the race called chiropractic. I wish on a podcast like this, even if we have it in video form, I wish I could just take you through the components of an incredible chiropractic office design. I mention it time and again on different audios and videos. But simply know that you want to have your command center that also has equipment there for adjusting. You want that with a trap door to the exam and x-ray room. And ideally, on the other side, there'll be a trap door to another primary adjusting room. We call it the 3-room corridor. So you can go between the trap doors, new patients, reports, adjustments, adjusting families, adjusting slow people. You can handle and accommodate anything. Then, of course, we have a front desk that's always standing. It's centered in the office. The CA can see every door in the office, ideally. 43-inch high top counter, 36-inch high main counter, 29-inch high desktop counter. All 3 of them, and all CAs have a place that they can call home with a computer and a phone and a place to put their jacket. Of course, we can have the level 1 office, pure chiro, the level 2 office, the IST in chiro, the level 3 office, which is decomp in chiro, the level 4 office, which is IST and decomp in chiro, and then we have the level 5 office, where we have additional space for an additional 1 or 2 specific therapies that chiropractors who have the management ability, that have the volume, that have the referral power to actually sustain and use the level 5 office. We deal with that on a specific basis. My goal for you is to be able to get to a level 5 office. It is the office I have engineered that'll collect $200,000 a month with 1 chiropractor. I have it all broken down. Exactly what services, exactly what fees, exactly what care plans, exactly what wellness plans for one chiropractor to collect $200,000 or more per month. That's the future here at Winner's Edge. There is a revolution happening in chiropractic right now, and very few people, if any, are aware of it, but I am. There's a mindset in humanity that's making a huge shift. This AI and technical revolution that's happening right now, what's happening in the world of money and interest rates and how that's changing the psychology of people, what's happened in recent years as it relates to people having their health attacked and what that's causing in the psychology of people. All of these things are working together for an incredible phenomenon in chiropractic that we must be ready for. And we have it here. It is going to be absolutely exciting. Like to see you be a part of it. Like to see you be a part of the Winner's Edge group. I'm 100% dedicated right now. I've got many years to go doing this. Take advantage of it. The events, the videos, the influences, the motivation, the drive, the excitement, the fun, all of these things. It's no fun to practice alone. You want to be connected to a group. Much more fun, much more powerful. Make incredible new friendships that'll last a lifetime. Little accountability, place for you to share and help other people as well. It's the way to practice. It's your choice. Let me summarize here. Self-control. Self-control with money, self-control with how we handle our body, self-control in social situations, the discipline to be cool. We learn from our hero, Frank Lloyd Wright. Survey everything. Get everything into the mind to be processed and analyzed to come up with a solution that is superior. We use that as it relates to the chiropractic office. We choose the best possible space. We lay out the best possible design for flow. Allows us to have a productivity and collections that are superior. So then we can do generous and amazing things in creating the exceptional life. And that's the name of the game. You want to become more so you can do more, so you can create an exceptional life of generosity and awesomeness for you and everybody else you know. Tory out!